The two head coaches, John Harbaugh of the Ravens, now in his 12th season, and the first game as head coach for Miami's Brian Flores. Moments away from kickoff, week 1 of the NFL on CBS.
CBS Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Moments away from kickoff of the NFL's 100th season as we get set for the Ravens and the Dolphins on a hot day in Miami Gardens, Florida. Temperature 90 degrees, feels like 101 down on the field, and that's exactly where our Jay Feely is. Hello, Jay.
Hey, Andrew, you mentioned it. 14 new players for the Dolphins brought in just this week. Ryan Fitzpatrick told us he literally was introducing himself to players in the huddle, in practice on Friday. No position had more impact than the offensive line. 4 of the 7 active members today were brought in just this week, including starters Davenport and Isadora. Communication is key. Being on the same page is key. And Andrew, you know this aggressive defense of the Ravens is going to test them early and often.
Hey, Jay, we thought that Fitzpatrick was joking about making introductions in the huddle. He was not.
That's right.
He said that Jamarcus Webb, who signed on Friday, he saw him out in the huddle at practice and said, hey, by the way, I'm Ryan. Nice to meet you. As Brian Flores coming over after spending 15 years with the New England Patriots last year. They're a defensive play caller and linebacker coach, and now in his first game as head coach in the NFL. Miami won the coin toss, and they have elected to defer. So Baltimore will get the football first. John Harbaugh in his 12th season now with Baltimore.
Andrew, so much of the NFL is about routines and the routine that you have for pregame. So Brian Flores, first-time head coach, he had a routine as a defensive coach, as a defensive coordinator. It's all changed for this ball game, and where he stands, nobody's even standing close to him on the sideline.
Jason Sanders will kick it away, and the rookie running back Justice Hill is the deep man for Baltimore. The NFL's 100th season is underway, and Hill scoops it up and will take it out, hit at the 10 and dropped right there. So a good start by this Miami special teams unit. Deion Lacey, who was claimed off waivers from Buffalo, makes the tackle. And out comes Lamar Jackson, who grew up in Pompano Beach, Florida. Boynton Beach High School, about 30 minutes from here. And his quote, pretty dope to be back in his hometown with a lot of family and friends in attendance today. Although, as he told us last night, they had to buy their own tickets. He wasn't footing the bill.
He's not on that second contract yet, Andrew. He can't afford to buy as many tickets as he would actually need.
So much talk in the preseason about what this Baltimore offense will look like. As we mentioned, Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, streamlining the playbook. Here's our first look at it. And on first down, it's a handoff to Mark Ingram, bulldozing his way. Ingram in midfield and dragged down from behind. Rashad Jones makes the tackle, but not before Ingram goes for 50.
So much for worrying about being backed up near your own end zone. It's a pistol, and he actually fakes to the left. Everybody always talks about quarterbacks faking to the right when they do the pistol. This time he hands it off to the left, and Mark Ingram does a great job in finding the hole and then really good ball security at the end of the run.
Signed a 3-year, $15 million deal in the offseason coming over from the New Orleans Saints.
He's already earned a little bit of that money.
Ball at the Miami 40-yard line. Jackson's first throw is complete, and that is one of his favorite targets, Hayden Hurst. All 3 of these tight ends are dangerous as Sam Aguavin makes the tackle. Pickup of 7, and one of the questions about Baltimore coming into this game, who would start at left guard? It goes to Bradley Bozeman, who was a 6th-round pick a year ago. Second down and 3. Gus Edwards in at running back. Both teams telling us they're going to rotate a lot today with the heat. Here's Edwards' first carry, and he finds some room. Another Baltimore first down. Gain of 11 for the second-year man, Edwards. Now Miami, their defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham. And up front, Their first-round pick, 13th overall, Christian Wilkins, a man to keep an eye on today. 3 plays, 67 yards for Baltimore.
Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, talked about the strengths of this Ravens team, and he kept listing the offensive line. We kept talking about running backs and quarterbacks and tight ends. He kept talking about the offensive line.
Now it's Justice Hill at running back. Jackson, quick throw, and completes it to a different tight end. This time it's Nick Boyle. Eric Rowe on the tackle for Miami. Well, James, we wondered what this Baltimore offense would look like. And so far, so good. They are marching right down the field on Miami.
You know, the biggest surprise, because you script these first 15 plays, Greg Roman does, when is the ball going to lie directly in the hands of Lamar Jackson to run and show those electric skills?
It's a pitch to Hill. Trying to get around the left side, he does. And Hill still going inside the 5. First and goal for Baltimore, forced out by Minkah Fitzpatrick. Gain of 13.
One drive, 3 different running backs to run the football. We talk about staying fresh in the heat. Right now, the Dolphins are starting to wilt a little bit. This drive is starting to get to them. And you saw the blocking inside and then the speed outside. What you're trying to do is tire out those big guys who have to chase plays. Make them run from sideline to sideline, chasing a short pass to one side, then a run to the other side.
Yeah, good blocks by the center, Skura, and also by the tight end, Mark Andrews. It's a direct snap to Ingram. Ingram down to the 2. Lamar Jackson was split out wide on that first and goal play. And Devon Gottschall with the tackle.
You know, goal line, very few people employ that fullback on the roster. Well, the Ravens, they can go tight ends, they can go defensive linemen. Right now they're actually spreading it out a little bit, which would weaken the inside of their defense.
Edwards, the running back. He takes the handoff and is spun down. That was Rashad Jones coming up to crash the line of scrimmage. And it's 3rd and goal.
When you saw that motion go across the line of scrimmage and Rashad Jones didn't move, you knew that he had a chance to be coming on a blitz. And the only thing you could have done there, if you're the quarterback, is pull that ball out and go around the end.
Ball at the 1-yard line.
Flores is trying to get a timeout coming down the sideline.
And he gets it. Miami takes a timeout with 10:38 to go in the opening quarter. We chatted with Brian Flores on Friday at the Dolphins facility, and he told us there's been a couple of moments this week where he's had a chance to reflect on where he is in his life. Grew up in Brownsville section of Brooklyn, New York. He said that he thought back to living in the projects, food stamps, and to come all this way, it's a dream. And he's having a lot of fun. There's been a lot of talk about all the roster turnover, but he's as he said to us, why should I be sad? Here I am. Right. I've come all this way and getting an opportunity now to be a head coach in the NFL. Out of the timeout, 3rd and goal from the 1. Ricard is in there at fullback. Ingram, the running back. Handoff to Ingram, and he's in for the touchdown. Well, he started out with a 50-yard run, and he caps off the drive with a Baltimore touchdown. And what a drive that was for this new-look offense of the Ravens. 8 plays, 89 yards in less than 4.5 minutes.
Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, was quoted during the offseason, talked about getting medieval on people, and that's really running downhill, being physical. We saw that demonstrated on this drive. And with that huge run early, that's physical, just a huge hole to start, then bouncing it in right at the end.
Justin Tucker comes out for the extra point, and it's right down the middle. What a start for Baltimore. Mark Ingram in his first game as a Raven finds the end zone to give the Ravens a 7-0 lead. For Mark Ingram, that's his 40th rushing touchdown since 2014. Only Todd Gurley has more. And how about this hookup to keep cool, James?
You know, I think we need that up here.
I think Jay needs it down on the sideline more than we need it.
Everything for the kickers.
So Tucker will kick it away with Jakeem Grant back deep in his own end zone. And Grant will take this one out. Had a kick return for a touchdown week 1 last year and tripped up across the 20 by Anthony Levine. So out comes Ryan Fitzpatrick, who will turn 37 in November, starting for his 8th different NFL team, the most all-time in NFL history. And as he told us on Friday, at this point in his career, he is really enjoying this challenge. And as Jay pointed out, and you did as well, James, communication is the key. They've had a lot of moving parts, as we've chronicled, especially on the offensive line. It's Fitzpatrick's job today to make sure everyone is on the same page. Kalen Ballage gets the start at running back.
Like 20!
Fitzpatrick hit as he throws, and it's incomplete. He took a shot from Patrick Owasso. So right away, Baltimore coming after Ryan Fitzpatrick.
And you talked about communication. His wide receiver was stalking in a stalk block position, not even ready for a pass route that was being run. So first play of the game, communication issues. And what we saw in practice, we saw a lot of different positional groups running in. They were changing up personnel a lot, so they're going to try and do that, and Baltimore has to try and match them.
Fitzpatrick has Jakeem Grant next to him, looking to throw again. Fires, and it's caught by Albert Wilson, and a nice job after the catch to pick up a Miami first down. Owasso on the tackle, but a gain of 12.
Quick passing. Get the ball out of your hands early, not the old 7-step drop waiting for the guy to run a 20-yard route. Get that ball out early before the pass rush can get to you. Ryan Fitzpatrick can be very successful if they're able to do that and the Ravens try and play zone, but the Ravens have great man-to-man guys playing at the corner position.
Off to Ballage, up the middle across the 35 and out to the 37-yard line. As we take a look at this Miami starting offense, and we mentioned it, a lot of moving parts for offensive coordinator Chad O'Shea up front. They're going to start Jesse Davis at left tackle, James, and Davenport moving over at right tackle.
So they just signed Jesse Davis to a contract extension, so if you're the highest paid guy, I guess they always stick you at left tackle.
Davis started every game last year, but at right guard, of course, Laramie Tunsil traded last week to the Houston Texans. Second and 6. Pressure coming. Fitzpatrick steps up, throws on the run, and it's picked off. Guess who? Earl Thomas. Welcome to Baltimore, and he's not down yet. Thomas cuts it back at midfield and spun down. Earl Thomas, in 4 games against Ryan Fitzpatrick, now has 4 interceptions against Fitzpatrick, and Baltimore takes over. Big play by Thomas, and Baltimore going back on offense.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. AARP. Real possibilities. And by McCafe Premium Roast Coffee. Good is brewing.
Beautiful day in Miami Gardens and a great start to the season for the Baltimore Ravens. Ryan Fitzpatrick picked off his 8th different team he's thrown an interception for, and Earl Thomas setting up the Ravens with great field possession, 1st and 10 from the Miami 47-yard line. Jackson over the middle, caught by Hollywood Brown. See you later, Hollywood, to the house. There is a flag down back at the line of scrimmage. Will this stand?
dropped on that defensive side. Looks like the Ravens are clapping their hands. Maybe Miami was lined up in the neutral zone.
Brown, Baltimore's first-round pick, number 25 overall, out of Oklahoma.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Defense, number 29. This penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
Unbelievable start for the Ravens.
Everybody talks about his rare quickness, his ability to change direction. That's just a simple slant pattern, but because he has that up-the-field speed, that defensive back opens his hips the wrong direction, crosses his face, and after that, it's like just wave at him because you're not going to catch him.
Foot surgery in January. Part of his summer was cut short, did not get all of the reps that the Ravens had hoped for during training camp, but they managed him well. Did not practice Friday, but John Harbaugh said, don't worry, he's going to play. And on his first NFL catch, he takes it for a touchdown. 47-yard score. We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from State Farm. Marquise Brown has now caught a pass from each of the last 3 Heisman Trophy winners. Lamar Jackson, 2016, Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma in 2017, and last year Kyler Murray at Oklahoma. And what a debut here from Marquise Brown. Grew up just down the road in Hollywood, Florida, hence the nickname. Chaminade Madonna High School. She played Pop Warner against Lamar Jackson. Now catches a touchdown from Jackson. Let's go back to the score, James.
If you're the defensive back, you want inside position when somebody's running a slant. That's what he has. He has inside position right there on your screen. Once that inside position is beaten because the receiver draws up the field so fast, opens up his hips and comes across. And after that, like I said, you just wave at him because you're not going to catch him.
That was Eric Rowe, who had the coverage, could not bring down Brown at the point of the catch, and then he sprinted 47 yards for the score. So the interception by Fitzpatrick leads to a Baltimore touchdown. Fitzpatrick in trouble, takes a big hit, dumps it down to Wilson, and it's incomplete. Time for an NFL Today update. In New York, it's JB and Boomer Esiason.
Jets D.
Andrew, talking about interceptions leading to touchdowns. How about this one right here? Poor throw by Josh Allen off the fingertips of Cole Beasley. Intercepted by new linebacker C.J. Mosley for the Jets. They take a 6-0 lead. They miss the extra point with their young new kicker, Corey Bedvick.
Back to Andrew, James, and Jay.
And C.J. Mosley leaving Baltimore for the big money with the Jets. It's Patrick Owasso who takes over his starting spot in the middle now at linebacker. As Balaj has a little room to run. And Earl Thomas able to drag him down, but not before Balaj gains 14 and a Miami first down.
You know, one of the ways to kind of protect that offensive line and not make them do all the heavy lifting is to throw that swing pass outside. Get them away from the offensive line, away from Baltimore's front seven.
And there is an injured Raven down at the 40-yard line. It's the veteran corner, Jimmy Smith. Let's take another look at what happened to Smith, number 22. Ooh, it was Owasso who came down on his right leg. You can see that Smith immediately grabbed his knee.
Smith had his eyes on the ball carrier. He was fighting with the wide receiver who's trying to block him, and that leg in that static position. That's not good at all.
They do have some depth in that secondary. Brandon Carr will likely rotate in for Smith, but keep in mind that they also lost one of their top young corners in Tavon Young to a neck injury. He's on IR. So yes, there are other guys there, but having lost Young and now hopefully Smith's okay, it's something for Baltimore to think about here with 8:08 to go in the opening quarter.
And one of the things that the Ravens secondary relied on is that pass rush up front in the pass. Well, that pass rush now, you know, is brand new. Who's going to be the guy up front in that front four, front seven who can really put pressure on the quarterback? going to an unbalanced, heavy look here, putting an extra tackle on the right side.
And Ryan Fitzpatrick at the top of your screen. And they run it up the middle, and not much doing there. Tony Jefferson, the first to get there for Baltimore. And that's what Don Martindale, the defensive coordinator for Baltimore, told us last night. He said that when they were preparing for this game, they looked at a lot of film of the New England Patriots. Obviously, Brian Flores coming from there, along with the offensive coordinator, Chad O'Shea. And what Martindale said was, look at New England. First 15 plays, they like to run a lot of different things to see how you react. So they were expecting kind of the kitchen sink here early, and so far, they've responded quite well. Fitzpatrick in trouble again, and a big hit. Matthew Judon. This Ravens defense is flying all over the field.
Similar to the play that we had with Kalen Ballage getting the swing pass to the left. Here they try a little screen to the right side with a blocker in front of him. Blocker gets defeated, gets blown up in the backfield, big loss. And this is going to be a tough third down situation for Ryan Fitzpatrick. You can't hold the ball too long because you don't know who's going to come after you in that front four, front seven lineup.
Third down and 17 for Miami. Fitzpatrick, quick pass to Wilson, and Wilson is tackled immediately by Owasso.
You're just trying to survive at this point when you're looking at 3rd and 15 plus. You want the ball out your hands early. Look at this shell that you're going to have behind it, so you don't know where to throw the ball down the field, so get the ball out of your hands quickly.
And James, through these first few possessions for Miami, Kenyon Drake is yet to have a touch. And Brian Flores said earlier this week, we're going to see him a lot. Well, we haven't seen him at all yet, which is a bit of a surprise. Cyrus Jones on the punt return, and he calls for a fair catch around the 10-yard line. 5:46 to go, and it's 14-0 Baltimore. People affected by severe weather and other disasters need help now. To support those impacted by Hurricane Dorian, text Dorian to 90999 to give $10 to American Red Cross Hurricane Relief. After a 57-yard punt, Baltimore will start this drive at their own 10-yard line. They lead at 14-0. Gus Edwards up the middle, and he picks up 3 yards. And for an update on Jimmy Smith, let's check in with Jay Feely.
Well, Andrew, unfortunately for the Ravens, they took Jimmy Smith into the locker room. It's a knee. He's questionable to return. They brought him inside to get a better look at it.
All right, Jay. We appreciate that. And it was Brandon Carr and Anthony Averett coming in to replace Smith on that last series. Baltimore has 139 yards of offense to 23 for Miami. 2nd and 7. Jackson will keep it himself. Jackson is taken down. It was Jonathan Ledbetter and Eric Rowe on the tackle.
If you are one of the lead blockers when Lamar Jackson is carrying the ball, you want to make sure you get your blocks. If you're the receiver down the field or the running back like Justice Hill was in that last game, you want to get that block because you want to protect the franchise here.
Jackson put on 10 pounds of muscle in the offseason. He said he knows he's got to be able to play 16 games for the Ravens this year, and then, as he said, hopefully more into the playoffs. 3rd down and 3. Jackson has all day, looking deep for Hollywood Brown again. He's got it. Brown off to the races, and he stays on his feet. Touchdown! 83 yards. It appears that Marquise Brown is rather fast, James Lofton.
And he made a veteran move at the end. He's running a post route. So as you're going on that angle, the one thing you want to do after you catch the ball is you want to change direction because the guy catching you or chasing you has a chance to catch you if you just continue on the same angle. But when he made that move back to his right, that's a big-time move there. He probably learned that in Pop Warner when he was playing against Lamar Jackson.
83-yard connection. That's the longest pass of Lamar Jackson's young career, and what a start to the career for Marquise Brown. 2 catches, 2 touchdowns, 130 yards receiving, and it's 21-0 in favor of the Ravens.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Microsoft Surface and by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Push button, get mortgage.
Earlier this summer, some Dolphins players and cheerleaders surprised 100 underprivileged children in the 3rd annual Hope to Dream sleepover at the Dolphins training facility. Good to see that with this Miami team that is very well connected to the community. On the kick return, it's Jakeem Grant. And Grant stood up at the 15-yard line. Brendan Trowick with the special teams tackle. And let's go back to the touchdown, James.
Yeah, if I'm in the coach's room, I don't want to have this guy one-on-one in coverage, and that's what Minkah Fitzpatrick ends up having to do. You're a safety / nickel corner / strong safety / free safety, and you're having to cover the fastest guy on the field. It's not going to happen very often.
2 touchdowns for Hollywood Brown, and now Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins in a 21-0 hole. Anthony Averett is in at corner for the injured Jimmy Smith. And it's a handoff. Not much doing there. That's Ballage taken down by Michael Pierce for a loss on the play. And James, still no Kenyon Drake. He does not have a touch in this game. He just came onto the field to replace Ballage.
And you know, they probably had a series of plays where they were going to be in for a little while. They didn't expect to be down 21-0 by the time that Kenyon Drake finally hit the field.
Loss of 3 on the play. It's 2nd and 13. It's a play fake. Fitzpatrick dancing around, fires, and complete to Mike Gesicki, the tight end. And Gesicki rumbles up towards the 40-yard line. Kenny Young makes the tackle, a gain of 24.
That was all about Ryan Fitzpatrick, his ability to not panic in the pocket. He's been back there often enough. He makes the first guy miss. He shuffles to his left, comes to the right, comes back to the left, and still keeps his eyes down the field, the ability to find the open receiver. You only get that through experience.
And a good block there by Kenyon Drake. Fitzpatrick throwing again, and it's caught. Short gain on the play by Drake. So his first touch comes with 2:50 to go in the first quarter.
With Jimmy Smith out of the game, now if you're the Miami Dolphins, you find a way to attack the area that has been vacated by Jimmy Smith.
Fitzpatrick batted up in the air and incomplete. That was Owasso getting a hand on it. How about Ryan Fitzpatrick through the years? We've seen a lot of growth, specifically at the beard position. And we met with Ryan on Friday and we said, you know, what do you consider the beard now? Is it blonde in the middle there, or is that gray? And he goes, no, it's blonde. He said him and his wife Liza fight about whether it's blonde or gray daily. She does not like the beard and also believes it's gray. He insists that it's blonde.
Different products he can use to keep it blonde.
That's an all-pro beard. Not an all-pro throw there right now, as everything is going Baltimore's way. It's 4th down, and Brian Flores will now send out the punt team on 4th and 5.
You know, it's just a squeezing of the pocket. Tim Williams from the outside, a little pressure from the inside. And trust me, Ryan Fitzpatrick doing all that he can just to get the ball out of his hands.
And no question that this Dolphins offensive line, which we've talked about right off the top of the broadcast, has not given Fitzpatrick a lot of time to throw today. He's 6 out of 11 for 49 yards in the interception as Matt Hawk punts it away. Cyrus Jones from his own 5-yard line. And a punt return for a touchdown last year against Oakland and out of bounds across the 20. We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from Jif Peanut Butter. 2:12 to go, opening quarter. Lamar Jackson has started 4 out of 4 for 140 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. His career high passing yardage is 204. So he's inching ever closer, and we still have time left in the first quarter. They'll run it on first down. And it was Raekwon McMillan coming up to make the tackle. It's been a big play kind of day for Baltimore.
And those big plays start with the front 5. Those offensive linemen, you see the pass protection, you saw the hole right there, and then you're going to take a deep shot. If you're going to take a deep shot, you want that quarterback clean in the pocket. That's exactly what that offensive line has done. And when you talk about the Ravens, yeah, you're going to talk about Lamar Jackson and all the glitter that's around them, but it's that offensive line that's going to turn it into gold.
On 2nd and 7, Jackson fires, and it's caught. Mark Andrews with the first down. Eric Rowe on the tackle, a gain of 9.
Good read by Lamar Jackson. He makes the play fake, and when he makes that play fake, he actually dips his shoulders down below where the offensive linemen are, and so the defense can't see where he is. So he comes up, and he knows exactly where the receivers are going, so he can spot them easily.
7th first down of the quarter for the Ravens. And Justice Hill gets to the 35-yard line. Jerome Baker, who was named one of the captains of this Miami defense 2 days ago, on the tackle. Little extracurricular after the play in the final minute of the first quarter.
I like that extracurricular activity by the Ravens because it's from wide receiver Willie Snead. And one of the things Greg Roman talked about in our meeting with him is that his wide receivers, these wide receivers will block, and they block each and every play, and that's what he really loves about Willie Snead and Seth Roberts, 2 veterans to go along with the rookies that he has.
Brown is in there at the bottom of your screen on 2nd and 6, and it's caught by Marquise Brown again. He races up to midfield.
Wait a minute, it's not a touchdown. he was here. You were 2 for 2, and now you have to catch this little hitch. And he still made it exciting. I
think if you grab this guy in your fantasy football league, you're quite pleased with the first quarter. All Baltimore through 1, 21-0 on CBS. Some mysteries cannot be explained. Don't miss the premiere of Evil, Thursday, September 26th on CBS. Start of the second quarter here in Miami Gardens, and the Ravens have a 21-0 lead with James Lofton, Jay Feely, our entire crew. I'm Andrew Catalan. 21 points in the first quarter. That's a franchise record in the season opener for Baltimore. Jackson looking deep again, juggled and broken up. That time Xavier Howard was able to prevent Brown from another potential touchdown. There is a flag on the play.
Before the pass, holding, defense, number 21, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
The referee Jerome Boger making the call on Eric Rowe. Rowe coming over from New England. As we mentioned, there's a lot of New England ties here with Miami, led by that man, the new head coach Brian Flores, who spent the last 15 years with the Patriots, who will be coming to town next week to play Miami in what could be the debut of Antonio Brown as a member of the New England Patriots. By the way, his cousin, Marquise Brown, who's got 2 touchdowns today for the Ravens. Jackson up the middle and dragged down with another late flag coming in from the secondary. It was John Jenkins who tackled Lamar. And we'll hear from Jerome Boger again. 14th season as a referee.
Holding, defense, number 93, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Another holding call, this time on Avery Moss.
You had holding on the outside, which is pretty common for a defensive back. Holding on the inside, you're trying to keep that blocker from getting to the next level, and if you hold him, you can't do that. So get that defensive hold.
Edwards, he picks up a couple, and let's go back to New York. An NFL Today update with JB and Boomer Esiason.
Hey, Boomer, ouch.
Yeah, bad news for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Nick Foles is going to get driven right into the ground right here, fall on his left shoulder. He's out for the rest of the game, and he is going to be replaced by the rookie out of Washington State, Gardner Minshew II, against this new rebuilt Kansas City defense.
Andrew, James, and Jay.
All right, guys, thank you. Next week, the Jaguars will be in Houston to take on the Texans. Our crew will be there for that game. We'll have to see who the quarterback will be for the Jaguars on 2nd and 8. Lamar Jackson looking end zone again. Sneed's got it. 6 more for the Ravens. Putting on a clinic, and it's 27-0. Sneed only had 1 touchdown in his last 34 games, but he finds the end zone in week 1.
Post route, does a great job working him up the field, gives him that little outside stick. So much had been made about the mechanics of Lamar Jackson. Well, if this is the result, I think a lot of kids who are watching this game adopt his mechanics.
Jackson is 7 out of 7 for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's a purple party in South Florida, 28-zip. The 3 touchdown passes for Lamar Jackson, a new career high, has not misfired yet. 7 out of 7 for 196 yards passing. So he's 9 yards away from the new career high in passing yards. 28-0 as Justin Tucker kicks it away, and it's a touchback. Miami will get it at the 25-yard line. The SEC on CBS returns on Saturday when the 2nd-ranked Alabama Crimson Tide hit the road to take on South Carolina. It all begins with the drive to Atlanta at 2:30 Eastern, followed by College Football Today at 3. Saturday, right here on CBS. Seven straight completions. That's also a personal best for Lamar Jackson as Ryan Fitzpatrick goes back to work and hands off on 1st down to Drake, who loses a yard. Judon and Pierce getting back there for Baltimore.
One of the things that you hear head coaches talk about when you have to make personnel decisions is we're doing what's best for the organization. And then what they might say, if they were allowed to say it, because it's in the long-term future. And that's no solace to the guys who are out there on the field right now. Right now, you've just got to preach that one play at a time for these guys over and over again.
Fitzpatrick has some time, going deep for Devontae Parker. 2 guys back there, and somehow Parker comes away with it. Great catch by Devontae Parker and a gain of 49.
One play at a time. One play at a time. We saw Devontae Parker Friday at practice make a big play on a deep ball, and it wasn't this tough. He didn't have 2 defenders to go up and high point the ball from. This is what they expected from Devontae Parker when he came out of Louisville as a 1st-round pick in 2015. He only caught 24 passes last year, but go back to 16 and 17 where he caught over 50 passes. So this is another chance for Devontae Parker to show that he was worth that 1st-round pick back in 15.
Not much doing on the ground. This time Chris Board coming up to make the tackle as Miami has -8 yards rushing here in the 1st half. Well, we questioned that Miami offensive line so far in this game, but they did give Fitzpatrick time to complete that deep ball to Parker.
And the little bit of running that they've tried to do in the 6 rushing attempts that they've had so far is that you convince the defense, yeah, we're going to run, so that play action pass opened up.
Grant, nowhere to go. Brandon Carr and Marlon Humphrey were right there to contain him, and it's 3rd down for Miami.
A little bit of that last play is on Ryan Fitzpatrick because that's an inaccurate throw. He throws it to the wrong shoulder, doesn't lead him half a step up the field, makes him turn backwards to get the ball, and then the defense is just able to close in on him.
Josh Rosen, 2nd-year quarterback out of UCLA, did not win the quarterback competition over the summer. Offensive coordinator Chad O'Shea said he's been just working on getting better in practice each and every day. Sure, at some point this year you'd expect to see Rosen as we have a stoppage and a false start against Miami.
False start. Offense, number 77. 5-yard penalty. Still third down.
It's on Jesse Davis, starting at left tackle today. And James, there's no coaching manual for what Brian Flores is experiencing right now, and all the roster turnover we talked about, falling behind 28-0.
You've got to preach the same message at halftime as you first addressed at the first OTAs with these guys. Whatever you talked about then, you've got to be able to talk about at halftime. Right now, you've got to be able to stop a couple of outside pass rushers in Tim Williams and Matthew Judon.
3rd and 19, taking a shot for Williams. Williams cannot hold on. Undrafted rookie out of Colorado State, had a big summer, almost hauled that one in. But Tony Jefferson was able to get down there and help break it up. Marlon Humphrey as well.
And does a great job in turning that shoulder, putting his shoulder right on the ball. And as soon as he hits the ground, that ball is starting to come loose. If I'm Brian Flores, I throw the challenge flag right here, because this is points that my team could have had. And I don't need the timeouts if I'm down by 28.
Instead, Jason Sanders comes out to attempt a career-long field goal, 54 yards, and the kick is good. He only attempted one kick last year in his rookie year from 50 or longer. It was from exactly 50.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. Modelo, a taste that's pure gold, brewed for those with a fighting spirit. And by Pizza Hut, official pizza sponsor of the NFL.
Sun is shining on South Beach with 10:38 to go in the first half. Miami now on the board after the career-long 54-yard field goal from Jason Sanders. And now he kicks it away with the Dolphins trailing 28-3. Justice Hill will take a knee. Well, the football community recently lost two Dolphins legends. Hall of Fame linebacker Nick Buoniconti passed away July 30th. He played the last 7 seasons of his 14-year career with Miami. And Hall of Fame center Jim Langer passed away August 29th. He played for the Dolphins from 1970 to 1979. Both Langer and Buoniconti were members of Miami's 1972 perfect season. And this year, the Dolphins will wear helmet decals for both Buoniconti, NAB, and Langer, JJL. Two of the all-time greats. First and 10 for Baltimore from their own 25-yard line. Jackson nowhere to throw. And now goes down wisely at the 24-yard line. He was to check in with Jay Feely.
Well, Andrew, this summer, John Harbaugh said he expected this offense to change the way offenses are run in the NFL.
I apologize, technical difficulty there with Jay Feely, but yes, we asked him about that quote yesterday, and he said, I know that could come back to haunt me if we don't play well and score a lot of points, but he was very confident in what the Ravens did in the offseason to put together this new type of offense. He said it's not the same not new concepts. They're all concepts you've seen before, but how they gel together, how they're utilized is what's new and innovative in John Harbaugh's mind.
And it's also not being fearful of changing just a little bit from the past. Years ago, everybody was looking for the next Joe Montana to run the West Coast offense. Then you were looking for a pocket passer. But what you're seeing when you go to a high school game on Friday night, and what you're seeing when you go to major college football, you're seeing guys who play quarterback who can run the football and throw the football. And that's what you're seeing today with the Baltimore Ravens.
3rd down and 1. Gus Edwards, and I don't know if he got there. Looks like that spot will be just short of a first down.
You know, we were talking about Brian Flores on the sideline. What do you say to the guys? Well, one of the things that you do say when you're down 28-0, forget about the scoreboard. It's 0-0. You've heard coaches say that. You're going in at halftime. It's 0-0. Play like it. And this last drive offensively, they played like it was 0-0. And that drive right there to stop Baltimore and make them punt it, another play like it's 0-0.
There's the corner, Eric Rowe, that got in the backfield to bring down Edwards as Sam Cook punts for the first time today. Jakeem Grant, fair catch. He dropped it. Ball is out, and it's scooped up by Baltimore. Grant called for a fair catch, could not corral it. And this Baltimore special teams, which has been historically good. It looks like it was Justin Bethel that fell on the football in his first year with the Ravens. Changing of the guard at coach for Baltimore special teams. Longtime special teams coordinator Jerry Rosberg retired in the offseason. Chris Horton has taken over. Chris Moore was down there, and there is Bethel to scoop it up. And a turnover by Miami.
You talk about new players in the locker room making big impacts. We saw Mark Ingram rip off a long run on first down. Marquise Brown, rookie receiver out of Oklahoma. And Justin Bethel, who was a 3-time Pro Bowler with the Arizona Cardinals, new guy in the locker room. Big recovery right there.
First and goal from the 10-yard line. Hand off to Mark Ingram. And Ingram picks up a couple. You saw Danny Crossman, the Miami special teams coordinator, in his first season with the Dolphins. Been a lot of changes, as we mentioned, on the roster, and certainly a lot of times that can affect your special teams. And Jay Feely, you know a thing or two about that.
Yeah, Andrew, and Danny told me how tough it was. All week long, he's putting guys out there to play special teams that hadn't even practiced, that didn't know their schemes. But you need a guy like Jakeem Grant, who you gave a contract extension to this offseason, who has been here to make plays. He drifted into that ball, wasn't fundamentally sound, and turns it over.
Second and goal. Jackson chased out. Rolling left, fires, and it's caught by Marquise Brown. And Brown with some nifty footwork to get close to the 5-yard line.
You know, one of the questions when you are a small receiver, people go, well, oh, he's going to get beaten up. He's going to get pounded. And he got that, probably heard that when he was a freshman in high school, when he went off to college. When you're that small, you learn not to take a lot of big shots. I remember when the St. Louis Rams were the greatest show on turf with Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt. Those guys would catch a deep square in and hit the ground. They knew that they were going to continue to pass the ball the next play, so live to play another play.
Already set a record for a Ravens receiver in his first game. Third and goal. Pressure coming. Jackson just fires it. End zone wide open. Touchdown. There is a flag down. Miles Boykin with the catch. Will this one stand?
Defense number 29. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
The 4th touchdown pass of the half for Lamar Jackson to the rookie out of Notre Dame, Miles Boykin. And the Ravens are pouring it on.
Early pressure by the Miami Dolphins, and Miles Boykin just staying alive. He starts to go to the corner. When he comes back to the outside, he's thrown open by his quarterback, and good communication by two young players.
Boykin's first catch goes for a 5-yard touchdown. And a tough day for Eric Rowe on that Miami defense. And Tucker's extra point is good. 6:50 to go in the first half. Turnover on special teams leads to Jackson connecting with Boykin. All three of those Ravens wide receivers have found the end zone today. The latest, Miles Boykin. How about Lamar Jackson? 9 out of 9 for 204 yards passing. That ties a career high and a new career high with 4 touchdown passes as Jakeem Grant takes it out to the 20-yard line. And we do have a penalty flag down.
during the return, holding, return team, number 30. 10-yard penalty, first down.
On Chris Lamons. Coming up, Verizon halftime. Join JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cower. All the latest NFL scores and highlights all coming up on the Verizon halftime report. How about this stat from our ace statistician, Mike Notaro? First 170 pass attempts for Lamar Jackson. He threw 6 touchdowns. Today in 9 attempts, he's thrown 4 touchdowns. What a start to this season for the Baltimore offense as Miami on the ground with Drake. And he picks up 8 yards. So Jackson threw 6 touchdowns all of last year in those 170 attempts. And 9 out of 9 with 4 TD passes today back in his hometown.
Well, you know I hit it right on the head when I said the keys to victory is that they're going to pound the rock. They're going to run the ball like never before.
Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, prefers to sit up top, as especially on a hot day. On a hot day, it's a good place to be because it's air conditioned. Fitzpatrick steps up, has room to run. Judon chasing after him, and Fitzpatrick picks up a Miami first down. But Fitzpatrick has been dancing around in the pocket a lot today. A lot of pressure from the Baltimore defense.
And that offensive line, we know that they're new, but the other thing is that there's such great coverage on the back end by the Baltimore Ravens that he can't go to his first receiver, and when he checks the second guy, then the pass rush is right in his face. But Fitzpatrick still has a little magic in that arm.
On first and 10, Lodge runs right into Tyus Bowser in that Baltimore defense. Well, so many questions about this Baltimore defense. Where would the sacks come from with Suggs departing and Mosley departing and Zadarius Smith departing? We met with Don Martindale, the defensive coordinator, last night, and he said, look, Tyus Bowser, Tim Williams, 2 guys that we're counting on to step up this year, but at the same time, we're not worried about all that. We have speed in our defense, we have experience, and they were not concerned about those departures heading into week 1. Fitzpatrick taking a deep shot, also took a big hit. Parker again, did he get in bounds? No, out of bounds, and Fitzpatrick took a big shot, and he's slow to get up.
Earl Thomas in that range from center field to get all the way to the far boundary to make sure that he can't get this second foot down. That's impressive.
And then Fitzpatrick shoved down by Kenny Young, the second-year linebacker out of UCLA.
A lot of people just use the outside linebackers as pass rushers, but with Don Martindale, everybody in that front 7, especially those inside backers, they can come. And like he said, they have speed inside. He likes to use them in the pass rush.
Third down and 10, pressure coming. Fitzpatrick leveled by Pernell McPhee. And that is an incomplete pass. There was not a whistle. And then Fitzpatrick took another shot after, as he was chasing down, because there was a late whistle.
Yeah, there was no whistle, so Fitzpatrick is trying to run to make sure that it's not a live ball, and the defenders, they didn't know it wasn't a live ball, so he did take a big shot right there.
So he got decked twice. Here's the first one by McPhee. And then, since there wasn't a whistle, Fitzpatrick thinks he's got to play defense, and he's shoved down by Brandon Carr. Fitzpatrick has been hit 7 times in his 15 pass attempts. And James, I mean, I think that's a reason why maybe you don't see Josh Rosen. They're trying to protect him, and they know that Fitzpatrick, maybe having all that intangible experience, can do a better job of protecting himself as Jones lets it bounce down to the 21-yard line. 100th season in the NFL, and one of the all-time legends, Hall of Famer Don Shula, all-time wins leader with 328, coached the Baltimore Colts from 63 to 69, and then moved on to Miami from 1970 to 1995, including the 1972 perfect season. And since Shula retired, That's been a large group of Miami head coaches. In fact, Flores is the 8th different coach since Shula retired in 1996.
We had Don Shula's quarterback, Bob Greasy, pay a visit to our broadcast booth, and he talked about when Shula first got here, they didn't just win right away. It took them a couple of years, and perhaps that's the same thing that Dolphin fans who remember that Shula era are hoping for with Brian Flores, that it may take a while, and it's kind of painful to go through those growing pains when you change coaches, you turn guys over, and that optimism is there for a minute. Sometimes it gets dashed when the team isn't playing as well as what you would like.
For that last Miami offensive possession, Albert Wilson was not out there. The receiver is questionable to return with a calf injury. Baltimore back on offense, handing off to Mark Ingram as we approach 4 minutes to go in the opening half.
I had a chance to see the Baltimore Ravens play during the preseason. And Andrew, they were one of the teams that did something that a lot of teams don't do. They played their starters a little bit. So you don't come out rusty for that first game. Now the Miami Dolphins, yeah, you could have played your starters, but your starters in week 1 of the preseason aren't even here for the first regular season game. So, you know, there's a little bit of rust that's going on, not because these guys haven't played, but they haven't played together.
26% of their roster has been added in the last week for Miami. Jackson all day, looking deep again for Brown, incomplete. And that's the first incompletion today for Lamar Jackson. Chris Lamons had the coverage.
You know, there's going to be a lot of hands on hips from that defensive line during the course of this game, because trying to chase Lamar Jackson down is a task that you don't want to have to take, especially on a day where the temperature is almost triple digits.
Lost a whole lot of production from last year with that roster turnover under new head coach Brian Flores, general manager Chris Greer in his 4th season.
Look at this defensive lineup, nobody with their hand down in the front 7.
On 3rd and 7 all day for Jackson, completes it to Andrews, but he caught it short of the sticks. So it's 4th and about a yard, and John Harbaugh will send out his punter Cook.
And that's one that Lamar Jackson will tell you is on me. His receiver does a nice job in uncovering. Now throw this ball up at his chest, and maybe Andrews doesn't have to go down for that ball to the ground. Maybe he can catch it, but it's below his belt buckle, so he tries to go down and make sure he catches it.
And it's a fake. It's Levine off to the races. Levine, one man to beat, and Jakeem Grant's able to drag him down. Wow. Up 35-3, and the Ravens will have it all the way down by the 10-yard line.
Okay, so if you're wondering from a coaching standpoint, is this something that you want to do, that you have to do you need to do? Well, you kind of reveal this to your coming opponents. So everybody that you're going to face for the next 6-8 weeks, they're going to have to deal with this fake punt that you just ran. And the big thing that they have going here is you've got to get on the field fast enough. That play clock is down below 10. The Ravens are going to have to use the timeout because they weren't ready to run a play.
Ingram just running off the field. They barely do get it off. They kicked it off up the middle. And that was Edwards as we hit the 2-minute warning. Ravens with a fake punt, looking for more in Miami.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon, the network more people rely on. And by Jersey Mike Subs. Be a sub above.
Well, we mentioned that the roster turnover could really have an impact on Miami's special teams unit, and John Harbaugh clearly saw that as an advantage against Danny Crossman's unit, running a fake punt for 60 yards by Levine, and now it's 2nd and goal with 1:59 to go in the first half. Hand off to Ingram, trying the right side. Ingram pushes his way down to the 5-yard line, and special teams has clearly been a weakness today for Miami, James.
It certainly has. You're trying to field a punt. You don't get squared on it properly like you're supposed to, and then you count the guys, and you see how close they are to the line of scrimmage, and you kind of have to know that something's up. And that quick snap to Levine, a thing of beauty.
Miami just used a timeout. Not only did the Dolphins have all this roster turnover, one of the guys they cut this week in a bit of a surprise was their long snapper, John Denny, who's been around for a long time, 40 years old, but that was another surprising move on off this turnover, as Denny has done a tremendous job over the years for the Dolphins.
You know what I find really interesting when you talk about the offense that the Baltimore Ravens are going to try and run, what do you do inside the 10-yard line? What do you do in the red zone? And they still have a power package in, taking this snap out of the pistol, and now you spread it out a little bit. Mark Ingram is all the way outside as a wide receiver, outside the running back.
On 3rd and goal. Jackson end zone, and the receiver fell down, but there's the flag. It was Mark Andrews who he was looking for, and that's going to be a penalty against Miami.
Holding, defense number 33. Half the distance to the goal, automatic, first down.
Penalty is on Jamal Wiltz.
So that hold occurs before the ball is in the air, because if it's in the air and it's in the end zone, you'd have the ball on the 1-yard line as opposed to about the 2.5 right here.
5 penalties against Flores and the Dolphins. Baltimore still not called for a penalty in the first half. Ingram the running back. Ricard is the fullback. Ingram walks it in for a touchdown, his 2nd of the half. And with that, the Ravens have set a franchise record for most points scored in a first half. 41 and counting for Harbaugh and the Ravens. Ingram has 9 carries for 77 yards and now 2 touchdowns. Tucker with another extra point, and it's 42-3 in favor of the Ravens. Don't forget, coming up, Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cower. All the latest NFL scores and highlights all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. James, I know that the answer is probably somewhere in the middle, but are you learning more about the Ravens today? Is this more about the Ravens being very good or the Dolphins not being very good?
The Ravens, last time they were on the field, it left a bad taste in their mouth. They lost a playoff game at home to the Los Angeles Chargers. And sometimes that can sting you for the whole offseason, can set the trajectory of what you want to do with the locker room, who you need to bring in, what you want to do. And so, like we talked about them replacing some really key guys on defense. You know, you let Suggs go, C.J. Mosley leaves, Darius Smith leaves. And how do you replace those players and keep the same intensity, keep that swagger that you have defensively? And then what they have going on offensively right now, I don't think anyone around the league could have predicted. Can they maintain it will be the question.
Another touchback for Tucker with 1:42 to go in the opening half. Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins have not been able to do much on offense. Only 9 yards rushing in the first half. And their first 5 possessions, you've got 3 punts, the interception, and a field goal. And then, of course, they also turned it over on special teams. So it has been a disastrous first half for the Miami Dolphins. And it could be a long year for some of these fans. Fitzpatrick throwing left, and that pass is caught. It's Devontae Parker, but a flag is down.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, defense, number 56. 15-yard penalty, add to the play, first down.
First penalty on Baltimore today. It goes on Tim Williams.
Oh, man.
Wow.
That's a maybe a little bit of helmet to helmet at the most, but Tim Williams actually pulled off on that. Maybe he hit him in the beard. And that beard could be sacred ground. There it is. Keep that beard looking good.
Yeah, he said his wife hates it, but his kids love it. He shaved it once, and his kids said, no, go back, Dad. We don't like this look. Fitzpatrick steps up, and Fitzpatrick goes down. Pernell McPhee, one of the first to get there for the Ravens.
And with everything that the Ravens have done, that's the first sack of the day. They've had a lot of pressure on him, but that's the first time they've been able to sack him.
McPhee in his second stint with Baltimore. Was with them for 4 years, won a Super Bowl, and now back at the age of 30. Fitzpatrick throws on the run, and Hearns makes the adjustment but cannot make the catch. Brandon Carr got back there for the Ravens.
Andrew, when you're open like that and you're waiting on the ball, you want so badly to catch it, you kind of forget that if you go back and attack that ball, the defensive back is probably going to run into you, and you'll get at the worst, pass interference. See how he just stops? If he can turn back, plant, and go up high for that ball, he has more of a chance to catch it and even more of a chance to get defensive pass interference called.
Miami yet to convert on third down in this half. They're 0 for 4 with 1:01 to go. Pressure coming. Fitzpatrick gets away from Williams. Now throws to a wide open man. It's caught for a first down. That is Allen Hearns with his first catch as a Dolphin. Miami with the one timeout, 45 seconds to go.
You hear coaches always talk about finish the play. Tim Williams, finish your coverage. Linebackers, finish the coverage on the other end. So Ryan Fitzpatrick was the only guy who finished on that last play.
23-yard pickup. Fitzpatrick looking end zone. And it was caught down there, but out of bounds by Averett. And that stops the clock with 28 seconds to go. In this half, Fitzpatrick 9 out of 19 for 140 yards in the interception. As James mentioned, only been sacked once, but he has been under pressure all day.
One of the big preseason stars for the Miami Dolphins was Williams, number 18 up top.
Big target at 6'5". Fitzpatrick looking his way, an out route. Williams, and did he get his feet in bounds?
He might have bobbled that a little bit from up here.
Yes.
We're only about 600 yards away from where he caught it, but it looked like it.
This will bring you closer.
I'm not sure about that one. And it will be reviewed upstairs, not by a challenge flag downstairs.
For now, it's a catch. And it will stay that way. Third down and short for Miami.
Now he's run that quick out. Now's the time to run maybe a double move or a stop and go.
Fitzpatrick to the 5. There's Williams. And Williams tackled at the 6-yard line by Brendan Trawick. And Miami will call timeout. That's their final timeout with 18 seconds to go. Hard-hitting action on a hot day here in Miami Gardens, but the Dolphins have a chance on 1st and goal from the 6 to try to get in the end zone for the first time this half. Week 2 of the NFL on CBS slate begins with many of you headed right here to Miami for a divisional showdown between the Patriots and Dolphins, potentially the New England debut of Antonio Brown. Some will head out west for Mahomes and the Chiefs against the Raiders. All starts with the NFL Today on CBS. 100th season of the NFL. See if Miami can punch it in before halftime. Fitzpatrick over the middle, caught for a touchdown. Preston Williams. We were talking about him on this drive. He had a very impressive training camp, undrafted out of Colorado State. And it's the first touchdown of the season for Miami.
Undrafted, he had a couple little hiccups on his record, but he has all the talent that you want at that wide receiver position. Started his career at Tennessee, and when he went to Colorado State and finally got on the field, 96 receptions last year, over 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns. Great job working his feet at the back of the end zone there.
So Ryan Fitzpatrick throws a touchdown for the 8th different team in his career. He'll turn 37 in November. And the extra point by Sanders is good with 13 seconds to go. Another look at the score. Great job by Williams to get those 2 feet down.
You know what I learned about Williams on that replay? He's left-handed. Spikes it with his left hand. And you know, it's funny, most players are right-handed, but guys who are left-handed, he can plant better off his left leg going inside than he can his right. So there are a lot of little things that if you're coaching somebody and you're really applying things that they do well on the field, you take into account. He's left-handed. There are going to be some things that he does better than a guy would do coming from the right side on the other side of the field. Plus, he's really big, too, 6'5".
218 pounds. And Sanders kicks it deep. And it's a touchback. So you learned that Williams is lefty. I learned something in our pre-production meeting. How about this video from 90, the AFC divisional round? James Lofton, 7 passes for 149 yards, but wait a minute, a little high stepping into the end zone.
Well, there was a lot of snow. I didn't want to fall in a big snow, you know.
You're such a classy gentleman. I wasn't expecting to see that.
That's now. when I look back on some of the antics that I had, I never complain about the things that guys are doing now because I was just as much a knucklehead as they were. It just happens.
Yeah, I was a little surprised when you broke that out. As the Ravens will just take a knee and close out a half, although we're not done yet. A few words exchanged in what was a dominant first half by the Baltimore Ravens. Franchise record for most points in the first half, 42-10 in favor of Baltimore. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station. Back in Miami Gardens with a look at our first half stats, and both those Dolphins turnovers leading to 14 points for the Ravens. 6th largest halftime lead in season opener all time. Baltimore up 42-10. As we take a look at the first half highlight, presented by DirecTV, and on the very first play from scrimmage, Lamar Jackson handing off to Mark Ingram. And that set the tone for the rest of the day. A 49-yard run, and Baltimore has not looked back. Back in the booth with the Hall of Famer James Lofton, I'm Andrew Catalon. We'll hear from Jay Feely coming up, and that was an absolute clinic by Baltimore, James.
It really was. It was big play after big play, whether it was in the run game or the pass game. But like I said earlier, it really boiled down to, I believe, not the skill position guys, and I hate to say that, but it was the offensive line of the Baltimore Ravens. That unit, you know, you can argue top 5 in the league, top 3. They're up there in that conversation right now.
Brian Flores, first year as head coach, and a lot to handle with this Baltimore offense. You can see their first half possessions, only the one punt. They actually faked a punt late. That led to a touchdown. But if you were Brian Flores, what would you tell your team at the half?
I would tell them one play at a time. I wouldn't say sugarcoat it. We didn't play well. And when you're a defensive coordinator and you come in as a head coach, people expect the defense to be markedly improved, and today that's not the case so far. But they have a second half and a lot of season to play after this, so somebody has to be a tone setter for the Miami Dolphins on defense and also on offense.
Lamar Jackson, 10 of 11, 210 yards and 4 touchdowns in that first half. Those 210 yards and the 4 touchdowns are both career highs. And Marquise Brown, what a start to his career. 4 catches, 147 yards and 2 scores, including an 83-yard touchdown. Justin Tucker signed a big 4-year extension in the offseason. He kicks it away to start the second half. And it's a touchback as we check in with Jay Feely.
Well, Andrew, the touchdown drive was great for the Dolphins to build upon, but what Brian Flores was really upset about was his secondary. With all of the turnover they had, they didn't have the turnover in the secondary. You have Rowe, you have McCain, you have Fitzpatrick, you have Minka Fitzpatrick, all these guys who are supposed to be your trendsetters. Rashad Jones, the Pro Bowler, and yet those are the guys on defense that gave up the big plays that allowed the Ravens to move up and down the field. Brian Flores visibly upset with his secondary during that first half.
And Jay, we mentioned it was a particularly rough half for Eric Rowe, but you're right, you could put that whole secondary in the conversation as Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins offense go back to work to open up the second half. Fitzpatrick looking to throw and dumps it down to Kenyon Drake, who's pretty quiet in that first half, and Drake out towards the first down marker, and that will be good for a Miami first down.
I remember in practice at this juncture, I would hear the defense holler free licks because you're just sitting back. You know the other team is going to have to pass, probably have to pass in front, so you just come up and you're going to try and run through these ball carriers and these receivers.
Drake spins for a couple more, this time on the ground. Kenyon Drake, 4th-year man out of Alabama, a career high 1,012 yards from scrimmage last season. Did a lot of damage in the receiving game with those 5 receiving touchdowns, and he shared that backfield last year with Frank Gore, who's now a member of the Buffalo Bills. So Drake and Ballard should be the workhorse backs this year for Miami. Fitzpatrick, chase, throws, takes another big hit, this time from Matthew Judon. There is a flag down at the 41-yard line.
Yeah, a little movement by the wide receiver out there on the left. He was going to come in motion. Never got set after that. You got an illegal shift probably.
That is the call. Here's Jerome Boger.
Illegal motion, offense, number 19. 5-yard penalty, replay, second down.
That's on Jakeem Grant.
You know, as you watch film of this, you'll look at the plays where you were beaten physically, where you didn't do things the right way technique-wise. But when you have a mental error like that before the snap, that's really tough for everybody to digest, probably, especially after the instructions, I'll say, that were given out at halftime in the locker room.
Second down and 10. Fitzpatrick throws left, broken up, and that was Anthony Averett getting a hand on it. We have not seen Jimmy Smith return for the Ravens. Went out with that knee injury in the first quarter. And it's been primarily Averett filling in, 2nd-year man out of Alabama, the nephew of former Ravens left tackle Bryant McKinney. Fitzpatrick has been under pressure all day. Knocked down 4 times, sacked once, the interception by Earl Thomas. And now faced with 3rd and 10. Under pressure again, out of the pocket and taken down by Owasso.
That's the speed that Don Martindale was talking about. Do you have a quarterback who's escaped the pass rush? He's made a nice move to bail out of the pocket when all the pass rush was coming from the inside, and then he gets run down by a linebacker who can just flat out fly right here.
Owasso with 5.5 sacks last year gets credited for the sack here, his first of the season. And Miami will punt it away with Matt Hawk kicking to Cyrus Jones. Good kick by Hawk. Jones backtracks to his own 15. And Jones out of bounds just shy of the 30-yard line. 13:02 to go, 3rd quarter. All Ravens in this one. Good start to the second half for this Baltimore defense. Owasso with the sack. As we look at the quarterback comparison today, Lamar Jackson has only thrown 1 incompletion. He's 10 out of 11 for 210 yards and 4 touchdown passes. His career high completions is 14, so he's moving closer to that as well. After the punt, Baltimore takes over 1st and 10 from its own 29-yard line. And it's a handoff to Ingram. Mark Ingram stood up by Rowe and shoved that out of bounds. But Lamar Jackson has been showing off that arm today here back near his hometown.
And in an NFL that is so much about the short pass, get the ball out of your hands quickly. This has been an air raid type of attack. Throw that ball down the field, let the best man come up with it, and that's been the Raven receivers so far.
Jackson completes another one. And it's the big tight end, Andrews, who reels it in for 20 and a Baltimore first down.
Andrew, there are a lot of analytics that you use, numbers, different things like that. But there are also devices that players wear. I know they wear the GPS trackers during practice to track how far somebody's run, how fast you're running. And on a day like today where you haven't run a ton of plays, but there've been a lot of long plays, I would love to see the numbers on some of these wide receivers to see if they're slowing down as they continue to run 40, 50 yards on each and every play.
Justice Hill. And he cannot get away from Sam Aguavin, who has been one of the biggest surprises here in Miami this summer, making the Dolphins after 3 years in the CFL. He was signed in January. First time he's ever been in an NFL game.
Boy, that's a great effort level play. He takes on Patrick Ricard, a 300-pound fullback / defensive tackle, stuffs him, and then has enough speed to keep Justice Hill from turning the corner.
Went to Texas Tech, and when he was finished there, he didn't think that football was in his future. He went to police academy training for 4 years, then hooked up with the Saskatchewan team in the CFL, and Miami gave him a chance. He won a starting spot on the Dolphins with 2 flags down.
Neutral zone infraction. Defense, number 90. 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
It goes on Charles Harris.
As soon as you said police academy, I went to that old comedy movie.
I don't think there's a lot of laughs out of Brian Flores today.
I don't even think on a good day he laughs a lot. So you got to be stoic on the sideline. You got to remain focused. Even John Harbaugh was jawing at the officials as we left the field in the first half.
Jackson, quick pass to Andrews again. Greg Roman was talking about the chemistry between Jackson and Andrews. He said it's very strong and something you cannot manufacture, but it appears that Lamar Jackson has a lot of different weapons on this team, but his comfort blanket looks to be the tight end, Mark Andrews.
He did something pretty special on that last day, Lamar Jackson. The guy was running at him, leaped up in the air, and he dropped that arm level down and almost threw that ball sidearm.
3rd and 4 over the middle, and it's Andrews again, and he's got the first down. 5th catch today for Mark Andrews. That's a new career high for the tight end out of Oklahoma.
Go back a little bit a year ago, and Hayden Hurst gets drafted in the 1st round. Mark Andrews is sitting at home with his family. Oh, well, you're not going to Baltimore. Then 3rd round rolls around, the Ravens pick him. So you don't know, even though you think you know. And you don't know how you're going to turn out and who's going to be the prominent guy. And so far right now, Mark Andrews is leading the list of tight ends.
Ingram on the carry. And the ball came out late. It looks like Eric Rowe scooped it up for Miami, or was Ingram down? Ingram was ruled down, not a turnover by Baltimore. Another look.
Yeah, that forearm goes down. That's a close one. Once again, if I'm the head coach, I'm on the sideline, I'm looking at this, I'm thinking we may need to take another look at that, because is it wiggling at all? Is it starting to move before it hits the ground? He's going, where did I put that red sock?
Take the snap with Jackson, and Jackson hit by Minka Fitzpatrick with a flag down.
Holding, offense number 79. 10-yard penalty, replay second down.
It's on the left tackle, Ronnie Stanley.
This is a big physical unit, and sometimes when you are zone blocking, you're blocking your man, and you believe that play's going inside. So you're pushing them to the outside, or you're trying to hook them in the opposite direction, and then the play bounces on you. You get exposed for holding as that defensive player is trying to escape from your grasp.
Just the second penalty against Baltimore for 25 yards. Inside 9 minutes to go, third quarter. Jackson taking a deep shot down the middle of the field. Andrews is there. Ball came out late, scooped up by Hill, but he was down at the 1.
Now it's hustle, tempo, so that you make sure that this play is not going to be reviewed by the Miami sideline. You're trying to get up and get on it, keep moving. Looked like he took a number of steps, and he's stumbling, and he used to say stumbling, bumbling on this, but I won't go there.
Down at the 1, we mentioned the chemistry between Jackson and Andrews. That's now 6 catches for 84 yards. Both are career highs for the tight end Andrews, and now 1st and goal for the Ravens. Ingram already with 2 rushing touchdowns. Jackson looking to throw. Jackson will just throw it away.
That throw, another smart play in the development. You're outside the tackle box. You can get rid of the ball. Those are little things that a young quarterback, sometimes they don't know, especially if they have great legs, because they try and extend plays. They try and make something out of nothing. It's second down now. Just get us to the next down sometimes.
James, Nick Boyle is out there, 5th-year tight end, yet to score a touchdown in his career. Maybe this is the time to find
so
Nick
got
Boyle.
Him on your fantasy.
I do not. Looking to throw. Who's it going to be? It is Ricard for the touchdown. That's his 3rd career receiving touchdown and the 5th of the day for Lamar Jackson. And that ties the franchise record for the Ravens. 5 touchdown passes.
Great run action fake. Ricard does a nice job in heading right at the guy who's going to block and then jumping outside of him and flattening that route off, not going up the field, flatten it off to get away from the inside defenders.
Ricard, one of the rare players that plays both offense and defense in the NFL. John Harbaugh was explaining the genesis of Ricard on offense. Saw him when he came as an undrafted free agent, said, wait a minute, you're on defense. I like the way you look on offense. He's in the end zone here.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Experian. Raise your credit scores instantly with Experian Boost. Domino's. Order online and track your order. And by Progressive, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance.
Hot day here in South Florida. All the fans trying to keep cool, especially as you set it up here at Hard Rock Stadium. The away team is in the sun in the second half, but the home team is in the shade. That is certainly done on purpose. And it's another touchback for Tucker as we go back to the touchdown, or not the long pass from Jackson to Mark Andrews.
There's so much about analyzing how somebody throws the ball. And here, nice wide base, and he just flicks his wrist. And you talk about arm strength. It's about getting the ball out of your hands quickly, nice spiral down the field, and then right on point at the end. So it's really about completions. If it was, an old Raider guy, just completions, baby, completions.
15 completions. That's a new career high for Lamar Jackson. He has totally rewritten his career highs today in passing yards, passing touchdowns, and completions. Fitzpatrick hit again. That was Chris Wormley, the 3rd-year man out of Michigan, who had the big hit.
Guys are coming free in their last couple of steps because that hit, You talk about decleaters. We used to talk about that when we were young. And that's one of those. You don't want your quarterback stepping into a throw and getting hit that hard.
10th hit taken today by Fitzpatrick. We mentioned Wormley from Michigan. It was there were some anxious moments yesterday in Michigan against Army. Jim Harbaugh, John's younger brother, the coach, also Jay Feely was particular rooting interest in that Michigan game, the former Michigan kicker. And a flag is down back at the line of scrimmage, and it's going to be a hold against Miami. I think the tone of our meeting with John Harbaugh changed yesterday.
Offense, number 65. That penalty is declined. 3rd down.
After the Michigan win.
He was in a very good mood. And he walked in there, he started talking about Michigan, talking about his brother. And I asked him about when they faced off against each other in the Super Bowl. And he said that his brother tried to make it seem like, oh, it's me against you. And he's going, hey, come on, we're brothers. We grew up wrestling and fighting and doing all that kind of stuff. This is not a big deal here.
3rd down and 10. Ravens showing blitz. Here they come. Fitzpatrick spins away, goes down again, and completes it. That is Devontae Parker, who's had a nice game for Miami. A 12-yard pickup and a 1st down.
You talk about being a tough man and standing in the pocket. That 360 move right there, spin around and then throw it when you know that you're going to get pounded. And the ability to do all of that and to still remember where the pass routes are. Where guys are, where's your outlet, who's going to be open.
Fitzpatrick taking a deep shot and overthrows Parker. Let's go back to New York. An NFL Today update with JB and Boomer.
Le'Veon.
That's right. Le'Veon Bell lined up as a wide receiver, goes in, breaks to the outside. Sam Darnold finds him for a 9-yard TD pass. He also caught a 2-yard two-point conversion as the Jets decided not to put their field goal kicker on the field. They now lead 16-0 over Buffalo.
6:54 and counting left in the 3rd. Back to Andrew Catalog.
Are they saying the Jets need a kicker?
Yes.
I just saw Feely head up the tunnel.
Don't start. We need Jay here on the NFL on CBS. Fitzpatrick over the middle to Grant, who's tackled immediately by Marlon Humphrey. There is 2 flags back down. This one's coming back.
Holding. Offense, number 70. 10-yard penalty. Replay, 2nd down.
And it's on Julian Davenport, who had a rough year last year with the Texans. He was a part of the Tunsil and Kenny Stills trade.
You know, we keep tab on how many sacks defensive players get. We need to keep tabs on how many times they're held, because that's as effective a tool as sacking the quarterback. That time you get a great pass rush, you're beating your guy, and he has to hold you. Well, the offense loses 10 yards.
Davenport allowed 12 sacks last year and had 16 penalties against him. Lodge crosses the 30 and takes it down to the 32-yard line. Tony Jefferson on the tackle.
Jefferson joined this team with Weddle, and they great pairing. Both guys have San Diego roots. Tony Jefferson was a high schooler there. Eric Weddle played for the San Diego Chargers. And he talked about when Earl Thomas came in here and kind of wanted to make friends with him. And he said Earl is just so businesslike that it took a while to crack through, but he sees that here's a professional guy, and that's all he wanted to play alongside back then in the second.
3rd and 15. Fitzpatrick deep down the middle looking for Williams, and too far. Humphrey was stride for stride. There's actually Jakeem Grant, who was the intended receiver. And 4th and long, out comes the punter, Matt Hawk. Fitzpatrick is 14-29 for 185 yards, touchdown, and an interception. Cyrus Jones calls for a fair catch at his own 15-yard line. 5:47 to go, 3rd quarter. You are watching the NFL on CBS.
So much conversation about Lamar Jackson and his throwing action. Well, today it's been all about big plays, and those big plays probably start with his feet. Last year he talked about hey, my feet might be a little close together. I got to improve my base. Saw the sidearm throw there. So there's been a lot of work done by Lamar Jackson during the offseason.
Starts this drive at the 16-yard line. And a handoff to Edwards for more on that offseason work on his footwork. Here's Jay Feely.
And James, he went down, Lamar Jackson did to Tom House, noted quarterback gurus, worked with Tom Brady to work on that base. He said when he was too narrow, his balls would dive. They wanted to create new tools, as Greg Roman said, using those different arm angles and his athletic ability, similar to Patrick Mahomes. Everything they've wanted to do in this offseason has come to fruition today.
Yeah, I wonder if he worked on his 40 with Tom House, because Brady improved his 40 at age 42, didn't he?
Yeah, from like 5'1" to 5 flat.
Lamar's longtime quarterback coach Joshua Harris also a part of that off-season work along with Tom House. Jackson was excited to be back near his hometown. You can see that in September, since 2016, Ravens 8-2, tied for the second best record in the NFL. Only the Chiefs at 8-1 have been better. Jackson playing in South Florida in a meaningful game for the first time since high school. He did play a preseason game here against the Dolphins last year. 3rd down and 4. High snap. Jackson has some time. Now chased out, throws on the run, and it's juggled and caught. Willie Snead brings it in. Everything going Baltimore's way today, a gain of 13. There is a flag down, and it's coming back.
10-yard penalty, replay 3rd down.
Second penalty against Ronnie Stanley negates the acrobatic completion.
It's also the 3rd ball that Jackson has thrown that you might, as a quarterback coach, say, I'm not sure about your read here. This one, he ends up with 2 people in the same area. The same thing he did on the long pass. He also had the touchdown throw to Boykin, where Boykin at the last second made the defensive back think he was going out. He came back in. So there's been some throws that might be questionable, but when you pull them off, and you pull them off time and time again, you stop questioning the quarterback.
3rd and 14. Jackson fires to a wide open Andrews, who has the first down. Dragging defenders with him all the way to the 32 for a gain of 21.
I think that is the exact pass that Jay Feely was talking about last year that would have nosedived on him. This one thrown on a rope, thrown at the helmet, stays at helmet level, easy to catch, and it's above the hands. And see that? That's perfect. It doesn't get much better than that, because you give the receiver the ability to run after the catch.
Jackson now has over 300 yards passing at 301, and Andrews over 100 yards receiving at 105. Jackson, chased by Jones, throws and completes another one. This one to Hayden Hurst into Miami territory and down at the 43. Walt Aikens makes the tackle, but 23 more yards for this Baltimore offense.
If I'm playing on the defensive line for the Miami Dolphins, I'm thinking in a way this is not fair. We beat the offensive blockers. We're right in his face. He doesn't panic. He steps away from us like he's going at a different speed than we're able to keep up to, and then he's able to complete the pass on the run. So another way that he can beat you, just escaping the pass rush and then still head with his eyes down the field.
See the Ravens tight ends, 10 catches, 139 yards receiving. Ingram up the middle. And Ingram, he's done some nice running today. He's getting closer to going over 100 yards rushing. There is a flag down.
Personal foul, illegal use of helmet, defense, number 28. 15-yard penalty, automatic, 1st down.
That calls on Bobby McCain. McCain making the transition this year from cornerback to safety. And you can see he lowered his helmet to initiate the contact. That is a penalty.
And the crazy thing about it is, even though he lowered the helmet and he missed, they're still talking about lowering. To me, it almost looked like he was bracing for contact right there.
Final 2 minutes of the third quarter. Ingram. And Ingram has 98 yards rushing. We mentioned Lamar Jackson at Boynton Beach High School, about a 30-minute drive from here at Hard Rock Stadium. Some incredible highlights from his high school days. He actually has a key to the city in his hometown of Pompano Beach, Florida.
He's born to wear purple, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
And I asked him, I said, what'd you weigh? About $175. He said, no, I was 180. Yeah, 180 on a good day in high school.
A lot of his family and friends have come to the stadium today to watch Jackson have a career afternoon. He said the Cowboys were his favorite team as a kid, but the Dolphins were a close second. Although he only went to one Dolphins game as a kid because he had promised his mom that every Sunday he would work out.
Yeah.
And he got tickets one time to a game and he wasn't allowed to go because he told his mom he'd be working out every Sunday.
I think that was a good plan for it by his mom.
He is the first Week 1 starter for the Ravens at quarterback not named Joe Flacco since 2007. And Steve McNair, the late Steve McNair, was their opening day starter. Snead could not hold on. So it's 4th down, and out comes Justin Tucker to attempt his first field goal of the game. NFL's most accurate kicker of all time, 90% on his field goals. And this is from 34 yards away. He has made 44 in a row from under 40 yards. And we officially have a 50 burger in Miami. 52-10 Ravens.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by FanDuel. This season, there's more ways to win on FanDuel. And by Corona Extra. Find your beach.
Ed Reed played at the U, and then with the Ravens, and went into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year. And we're going to have a new quarterback on that Miami sideline as Josh Rosen has been warming up during that timeout. Rosen has the helmet on, and he's going to come in with 22 seconds to go in the third quarter. What do you think of this, James Lofton?
Well, a real gallant effort by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Couldn't do much more than what he tried to do out there. So get Rosen in, get his feet wet a little bit. Both guys this way will be sore in the quarterback meeting tomorrow.
Fans who are still here enjoying seeing Rosen get out there. You saw the graphic. Youngest quarterback to appear in a game for Miami since Dan Marino was 22 back in 1983. Miami has the youngest team by age in the NFL. Acquired in a trade with the Arizona Cardinals in April. Josh Rosen making his Miami debut. And on first down, he completes it to Mike Gesicki, who's upended by Jefferson at the 30-yard line. Rosen, a 3-year starter at UCLA, threw for 300 yards 17 times, which was a school record. And he's going to get some action here in week 1 as we've hit the end of the third quarter. We'll return to Miami after this message and a word from your local station. You're watching the NFL on CBS. 52 points is the most points Miami has allowed at home in franchise history. Baltimore's franchise record for most points in a game is 55. It came against Oakland in November of 2012. Josh Rosen, the new Miami quarterback, looking to throw again, and he's picked off on the sideline by Marlon Humphrey. Great play by Humphrey, who's emerging as one of the better corners in the NFL. That is the third turnover of the game, and yeah, they can pose for a picture when you're up 52-10.
You always always wonder about a great defense that loses some star power, if they're going to be able to maintain where they were a year ago. They were 4th in the NFL against the run, 3rd against 3rd down. They are #1 here, and they're just killing them.
Josh Rosen hit hard as soon as he came into the game, and then a play later throws an interception. Marlon Humphrey, whose father Bobby played for the Dolphins back in 1992, and a new Baltimore quarterback. It's Robert Griffin III. Lamar Jackson's day is done. Mark Ingram just goes over 100 yards rushing on that carry. 16th time in his career that Ingram has gone for over 100, and what a day for Lamar Jackson. Finishes 17 of 20, 324 yards and 5 touchdowns, all career highs. And now RG3, who's in his 2nd year with the Ravens, signed a 2-year extension in March. Missed most of the preseason with a broken bone in his right hand. Missed all of the preseason. The injury occurred during training camp. Edwards up the middle, and he's got a first down. Well, James Lofton, how would you put a bow on Lamar Jackson's day?
We were so expecting to see Lamar Jackson run the ball 25, 30 times a game. Nobody would have imagined he'd be so accurate, so proficient. 5 touchdowns, 324 yards, 17 out of 20. You know, he had a drop in there also. I didn't notice that drop. Oh, what a day for Lamar Jackson.
See the career highs, completions, yards, and touchdowns. And he is done for the day. 52-10 ball game. Griffin III completes it to Nick Boyle, who's got a Baltimore first down. What a whirlwind it's been for Robert Griffin III. He did not fly with the Ravens here to Miami yesterday. Instead, he was at the hospital with his wife, Grete, as they gave birth to their 2nd child, Gemia, the night before. It was actually last night where they gave birth. So,
and a night of short sleep when you're having a baby is something that you should be prepared for about the next 18 months.
So Griffin III had to find his own way here to Miami. They do have a 3rd quarterback, Trace McSorley, a rookie. He's inactive. As soon as Griffin arrived, they knew they could go and count on Griffin to be the backup. But congratulations to the Griffins.
A lot of star power with big days. You talk about Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, Brown, Andrews. Really, this offensive line, like I said, I don't know top 5, top 3, where you want in that conversation, but they are mentioned in it, and they have dominated the Miami Dolphins up front.
Looks like they're giving Marshall Yonda the rest of the day off, as Patrick McCarry has come in at right guard. Yonda will turn 35 next Sunday. Here's Edwards inside the 10 and down to the 5-yard line. James, I think the thing that sticks out to me when you look at this Baltimore offense is they have so many different weapons who have such a variety of skill sets. You've got power backs, speed backs, big receivers, fast receivers. There's so many different ways that they can go on this offense. It's very difficult to prepare for, as we have an injured Dolphin. And it's Bobby McCain who is being looked at by the Miami training staff.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. And by McCafe Premium Roast Coffee. Good is brewing.
(52-10). And the Ravens are knocking on the door once again with Robert Griffin III in at quarterback. It's 1st and goal from the 5-yard line. RG3 will keep it, trying to get to the outside, and is dragged down by Rowe at the 3-yard line. Appeared in 3 games last year for Baltimore, sometimes in some 2 quarterback sets. He was only 2 of 6 for 21 yards. Of course, Joe Flacco is on the roster as well. And then when Flacco got hurt, RG3 became the backup for some of that time. Edwards, and he is stood up at the line of scrimmage. That was Jonathan Ledbetter, undrafted free agent rookie out of Georgia, the first to get there. And now 3rd and goal for Baltimore. Again, the franchise record for most points in a game for the Ravens, 55, set in 2012 against the Raiders.
And you have to think about, how does this game impact both teams? Because everybody's been involved in blowout wins or blowout losses, but very rarely do they happen in week 1. And so for the Ravens, how do you convince your team, hey, we're not really that good? Possibly for the Dolphins, we're not really that bad.
Edwards runs into his own man and spun down. Hayden Hurst lost a helmet on the play. Christian Wilkins, the 1st-round pick out of Clemson, one of the first to get back there for Miami. And now on 4th and goal, John Harbaugh is going to keep the offense on the field. Saw him run a fake punt up big in the first half, and he's going to keep his kicker Tucker on the sideline here on 4th and goal from the 3. Now it looks like he's running down to call a timeout with the play clock getting down to 1. Even before that, he stops the clock with 9:30 to go.
I'm curious, Jay, as a kicker, have you been involved in a game like this early in the season where it's been this lopsided?
Yeah, you know, it happens from time to time, and whatever position you are, you want to get out there and you want to get reps. If you're a kicker, Justin Tucker, obviously you want to kick it. But the offense for Baltimore here, it's a new offense with Greg Roman. So even though Lamar Jackson's not in, the ability to run these plays, the ability to help this offense understand what it wants to do in these 4th and short situations is valuable.
John Harbaugh told us you're not going to see everything we're going to do in week 1. In fact, they've probably didn't have to break out nearly as much as they thought after jumping out to such a big lead. We'll see what happens here on 4th and goal. RG3 to a wide open man. It's Mark Andrews. What a day for Andrews. And now a franchise record for most points scored in the game by the Baltimore Ravens. They have 58 with Tucker coming out for the extra point. Andrews, 8 catches, 108 yards, and now a touchdown.
You know, if you were at a high school game, you'd go, well, why are they still passing? Because that's part of the game. You're the Miami Dolphins, you see a little frustration at the tail end of that play, kind of pushing back and forth. Why would you go for it on 4th down? We went for it because it's your job to try and stop us. Continue to play football. Don't kind of look for the easy way out or somebody to have sympathy on you, because that's not the case in the National Football League.
RG3 in the hospital last night with his wife as the couple had their 2nd child, and now less than 24 hours later he throws a touchdown pass, and now it's 59-10. And some more words exchanged down there on the field, but it's all smiles on the Baltimore sideline, pouring it on in South Florida. 59-10 in favor of the Ravens. Coming up, State Farm postgame show. JB, Phil, Nate Boomer, Coach Cower. All the latest NFL scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm postgame show. 2nd most points all time in a season opener. The 73 Falcons scored 62 points. Baltimore at 59, and now Tucker kicks it away with 9:24 to go. It's another touchback. There's a flag down right near where Tucker kicked it away, as Josh Rosen will come back out for Miami.
Illegal formation. Offense, number 41, moving early on the free kick. 5-yard penalty, re-kick.
See, with all the player safety concerns, you would seem like you just add 5 yards onto the end of the kick. So giving the ball at the 30-yard line as opposed to having these guys run down there for the big collision again on the next play.
Well, they have the option to do that, James, if they want to.
And that's what I'm waiting on right here.
Most special teams coaches in a normal situation want the re-kick because the coverage guys are tired, and that gives you the opportunity for the big play.
There's some confusion as Tucker is out there, but so is the Miami offense. So it's possible that Brian Flores has now changed his mind, and it looks like that is the case as the Miami offense takes the field. There will not be a re-kick. So Josh Rosen back in the huddle threw an interception. Marlon Humphrey picked him off, and now let's see what Rosen can do on a second series at the helm. Pass is deflected. It was Chuck Clark who got a hand on that one for Baltimore. There's a look at Rosen when he entered the game. He took a big hit on his first play, and then this was the interception as Humphrey made a nice sliding grab.
Humphrey doing a better job driving back to the quarterback than his wide receiver did for him.
Dolphins keep it on the ground. Now, Jay Feely, you played for Miami in 2007. Dolphins fans know that was not a very fun year at 1-15. Not to say that this team is headed in that direction, but when you're on a team like that, Jay, what is the hardest part of a 1-15 season?
Well, going to work every day and doing your job, not allowing it to get you down. Brian Flores is going to have to do a great job with the moves that they made, trading Tunsil, getting rid of Stills, all the player movement that they did this week, the 14 new players. You're going to have to go in that locker room and convince them every day to come in, to do their job, to not focus on the big picture, and just focus on the task at hand on a daily basis.
Judon with the sack of Rosen. He's got some special moves after, and that'll be a very quick series for Rosen in Miami.
You know, the pressure's been there all day. Coverage great down the field. Judon working, continuing to play. And, you know, back to what Jay Feely said about coming to work every day. Sometimes you get in your position room meetings and you'll have a guy who wants to have a pity party because things aren't going well. You got to distance yourself from that type of player.
At the end of the day, James, you're judged individually, each one of you. You want to be there collectively. You're a team. But every player on that team, every player on that roster, and even every coach, you're going to be judged individually, and you have to come in and you have to be responsible for your own job.
Because like Jay said, that was a one-and-done year for that coaching staff. It wasn't like they were able to play out their 3- or 4-year contract. They were in and they were out.
The coaches, the general managers, everybody. Parcells came in and they cleaned house, and that's the reality. You've seen it. You saw it in Arizona this past year.
And you're seeing it here as well. As you see the graphic, only 21 returning players from a year ago and 14 new players this week. And there's an injured Dolphin down at the 30-yard line. It appears to be Raekwon McMillan, who missed all of the preseason with an undisclosed injury and also missed all of his rookie season with a torn ACL.
With what they were trying to do to him on the ground, pulling his toes back, you will hope that's nothing more than some significant cramps. And I don't say insignificant cramps because I'm not the one cramping up right now, and I know when you are, it hurts like heck.
I see Minkah Fitzpatrick, I see Christian Wilkins, I see Bobby McCain on the sideline, but for the most part, the rest of the Rashad Jones is out as well. But a lot of the starters still out there for Miami, down 59-10. Inside 8 minutes to go. Another series for RG3, and Ledbetter makes another tackle. And the schedule does not get any easier for Miami coming up. Their first 4 opponents, including today against Baltimore, they all made the playoffs last year. Next week on CBS, New England with potentially Antonio Brown, then at Dallas, and home to the Chargers before a bye week, week 5. And that's a very daunting first month for new head coach Brian Flores. The last Miami head coach to win his debut, Nick Saban, back in 2005. RG3 completes it to Seth Roberts in his first year with the Ravens. His first catch, fighting for a couple extra yards. Jay, how has the Heat played out there? Have you seen a lot of?
I'm doing all right, Andrew.
I was very worried about you. Yeah.
You know, surprisingly, you haven't seen a big impact. The Ravens have had these things over the top of their heads, giving them shade throughout the game, trying to provide shade. The Dolphins sideline isn't too bad. It's in the shade the entire time.
Don Martindale was very colorful, told us yesterday it was hotter for the joint practices in August in Philadelphia between the Ravens and Eagles than it was today. He said it was so hot he was seeing elephants out there on the sideline.
Andrew, he said that to me again today when we were out here. He said, I still think it was hotter in Philadelphia. It's prepared us. We're ready. And you can see 59-10, they certainly were.
You know, if he's told us that, he's told his team that also. Because you don't want them to be so fixated on the Heat, how hot it's going to be. They have the cooling devices, like you said, when they came off to the sideline, and they have managed this Heat really well in terms of kind of alternating receivers, getting different positional groups in. But once again, those offensive linemen who are big, and they've withstood the Heat really well.
Edwards, and that's Wilkins, who's back in the game to make the tackle. The Ravens only had 4 defensive linemen active today. Figured we'd see a lot of rotations, especially the guys up front, but that's been very well managed from the Baltimore sideline. John Harbaugh about to run his record all-time to 8-1 against Miami. Baltimore running some clock now, inside 5 minutes to go as Jerome Baker makes the tackle on Gus Edwards, who played the first 3 years of his collegiate career at Miami and then transferred to Rutgers for his final season, but he got his bachelor degree from the U. Last year, Edwards, 5th in the NFL, 5.2 yards per carry.
And a very no-nonsense back. When you talk about downhill run through guys, pick a shoulder, and try and move the guy out of the way.
3rd and 4 for Baltimore. And Griffin completes it to Hayden Hurst for a Baltimore first down. Walt Aikens had the coverage, but Hurst is able to get toward midfield and move the chains.
Great pocket protection, nice high throw, get it up over the offensive line in between those gaps. You know, people always wonder, especially with short quarterbacks, how do they throw? You find passing lanes to throw to, so it doesn't matter if you're 5'6" or 6'6", you still got to be able to find that lane to throw it through.
RG3 is 4 out of 4 for 35 yards and a touchdown. Justice Hill into the game at running back, and he takes the handoff. And Xavier Howard with the tackle at the 47. Howard signed a big contract in the offseason, 5 years, $76 million, now the highest paid corner in the NFL.
Andrew, the thing that stood out to me today is the way this offensive line for the Ravens has dominated this game. From the opening snap, Mark Ingram runs down 49 yards, running over people. There were holes, clean pockets all day long. Both Lamar Jackson and RG3, this offensive line has been dominant.
And Jay, you remember what John Harbaugh told us yesterday in our meeting? He said if we can block, we'll be a nightmare on offense.
Right.
And they blocked very well today, and it's been a nightmare day for Miami as Boyle with another Baltimore first down.
I would think a lot of people will go back and they'll start watching not only the Ravens from last year and the last 8 games that Lamar Jackson played in. We'll go back and you'll start looking at some successful college programs and how they deal with this type of quarterback who has the ability to run, the ability to throw the short passes, to load up. Because you've got to figure out what you can do schematically against this offense that you're not having to do against the other offenses around the NFL.
And that carry by Edwards should take us to the 2-minute warning. And Greg Roman telling us that his experiences as a coordinator with Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco, Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo, certainly was nice to draw back on those times when building this new offense around Lamar Jackson. As as we've hit the 2-minute warning in Miami. 59-10 Ravens.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. And by Verizon, the network more people rely on.
Coming up, State Farm postgame show. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Cower. All the latest NFL scores and highlights on the State Farm postgame show. On 2nd and 5, RG3 completes another pass to Willie Snead, who caught a touchdown earlier in the game. The Ravens have over 600 yards of offense today. Wow, Miami called a timeout.
Oh, man.
Really?
And because Baltimore was at the point now where all they had to do was take a knee. Pretty interesting, and I know Mike Notaro, our stat guy, has this tidbit already. Is this the first game where you've had 3 Heisman Trophy winners involved in touchdown scoring plays? We'd have to go back to, I played with Bo Jackson, Marcus Allen, and Tim Brown. Maybe I should give Tim Brown a call on the hotline and find out.
627 yards of offense. That's a franchise record for Baltimore on a day where they have rewritten their record book. That touchdown pass by RG3 earlier in the quarter, his first touchdown pass since 2016. He was out of football in 2017 and did not have a touchdown last year with Baltimore. RG3 will keep it and slides down inbounds. And Brian Flores is going to call another timeout with 1:50 to go. My college basketball analyst on CBS, the great Steve Lapis, even he used to be a coach. He used to say, when I was getting blown out, I just wanted to get out of there.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to call timeout. The sooner I could get out, the better. But Flores calling his timeouts here down the stretch. As you see Baltimore's upcoming schedule, they'll be ready to roll in Baltimore next week for the home opener against Arizona, then at Kansas City on September 22nd. Here's Hill. He's got some speed. Hill cuts it up. Hill's got a first down. Akins makes the tackle inside the 10. Miami does have 1 timeout remaining, but Flores does not appear to be calling it here.
James, I think the biggest stride for Lamar Jackson today was in a clean pocket. Last year, bottom of the league, completion percentage 60%, passer rating when he had a clean pocket. Today he stood tall, he delivered balls, obviously a high completion percentage, had an excellent game.
And going in as a starter in mid-season, it was all new to him. Here he had the whole offseason to prepare, to get ready, to be the man. The whole offense was geared around his abilities and his abilities alone.
RG3 takes it down to the 5-yard line with the final minute. Since 2016, Baltimore will now go to 9-2 in September games.
This Baltimore team didn't get a lot of love from all the pundits. Everybody's going to look at that 59-10 score and rethink all their predictions.
And they are in victory formation. RG3 will take a knee, and that will do it. What a day for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Franchise record 59 points, and they blow out Miami 59-10. So that'll do it from Miami Gardens. 59-10 the final. For our producer Steve McKee, director Andy Goldberg, James Lofton, Jay Feely, our entire crew, this is Andrew Catalan saying so long from Miami. Let's go to James Brown in New York.